We're talking to Larry Givens, an attorney with the Cochran firm here in Dothan, about Alabama's worker compensation law. Now, Larry, is Alabama's worker compensation law broken?
Andrew, I don't think it is. I certainly think it has room for improvement, but when one considers where we started with workers' compensation during the industrial age, we're certainly a lot better off than we used to be. The day was when if you were injured on the job, you basically got thrown out with the rest of the trash and you had to worry about getting your own treatment and how you were going to support your family. So clearly today's system is better than that ever was, but it definitely has room for improvement.
Give me some examples, if you will, about some changes that would improve the current worker compensation system.
Well, interestingly, there is actually a bill pending before the Alabama Senate. It's SB 330, and that would bring about some significant changes in Alabama's workers' compensation statute and changes that we haven't seen for a long period of time. The bill has not really been changed to any great extent since the early 90s. One of the examples I would use, in its current state, the statute provides that you cannot be terminated solely because you file a work comp claim. The operative word there is solely. Your employer is still free to fire you for any number of other reasons, and since Alabama is an employment at will state, some of the reasons can at times be pretty arbitrary, but retaliatory discharge is an extremely difficult claim to bring in its current state. The changes suggested by the statute would set up a standard that says if the termination was substantially motivated by the filing of a work comp claim or the reporting of a safety violation, then the employee can make a case. That to us is an evening of the playing field. There are those who would suggest that it might make employees act inappropriately because they're termination proof, but we believe that's far from the truth. We believe that this language will make it more fair for employees who are faced with termination. One of the significant factors of that is that if you're an employee and the person who's working next to you is injured and the next thing you know they're terminated, and in your mind that's tied to their reporting a workplace injury, then when you get hurt on the job, you're going to be reluctant to report that injury unless you just absolutely have to, because you don't want to lose your job. So the protection of that statute needs to be real. It needs to be such that an employee who is terminated because of a work comp injury has redress, and we believe this new bill will create that. Another factor, and will be a significant change, is in the permanent total disability and how that's calculated. Historically, that has been such that if you were ruled to be permanently totally disabled, then you receive lifetime benefits, 2/3 of your average weekly wages up to a maximum amount for your lifetime. The new bill would change that to benefits running until you're 75 or for 500 weeks, whichever is greater. Now, there's the potential in certain cases if you're injured when you're 40 years old and at 75 your benefits stop for you to miss some benefits. But we believe this is a reasonable compromise if the other things that take place in this bill to benefit employees can be put in place. And then finally, and this is probably to me one of the most important factors of the new bill, it at last addresses the maximum amount that you get for a permanent partial disability. Right now that number is $220 a week. That number was put in place in 1984, over 30 years ago. It has not changed since. Obviously, with the increase in the cost of living, that number is woefully inadequate. The new bill would require that that number be 80% of the average weekly wage for the state, or 100% of your average weekly wage, whichever is less. And a clear thing there is that that provides a mechanism that from year to year, that number can be adjusted to account for cost of living increases.
Okay. Are there any positive winds of change blowing through the legislature for Alabama workers?
We hope there are. We don't know if this bill will pass as yet. We think it certainly deserves a fair hearing, and we hope that it will get that. There will be forces quite naturally who will work against this bill, who have a a financial interest in the work comp statute, but these are things that are entirely reasonable, that are fair to Alabama workers, that would not create unreasonable costs to Alabama employers. We have seen in our many years of helping people with work comp cases what can happen when a severe injury meets inadequate benefits, and it can create tremendous hardships on a family. So we are hopeful that these things will be done. We would encourage people, if you see this and you know who your representative or your senator is, give them a call, because it's that important. You may be the next one hurt and need these benefits. Trying to get benefits for our clients is our motivating factor, and all we want is a level playing field.
Larry Givens with the Cochran firm here in Dothan, Alabama, talking to us about Alabama's worker compensation law. If you'd like to talk to Larry, give him a call at 334-673-1555 or visit their website, cochranfirmdothan.com.